Neil Gorsuch up for hearings today to be a Supreme Court nominee. Now, of course, the Republicans blocked Merrick Garland for a record 293 days. That is more than twice as long as any previous record for how long a Supreme Court nominee has been blocked. They blocked him without any consideration as to his merits. They refused to have a hearing on it. But here we are, they're in charge, so they're having a hearing on Gorsuch. The Democrats, of course, should fight back with everything they've got. So far, we haven't seen it yet. And in fact, when asked, Dianne Feinstein said she's not exactly sure what her strategy is, and that she's hoping for quote unquote good questions. Well, we're all hoping for that, aren't we, Senator Feinstein? First of all, you should sign any and every petition fighting against Gorsuch, including one put together by a lot of activist groups together, including us. We must stop Trump from taking over the Supreme Court. Yes, I agree with that, and I think that it is imperative that Gorsuch not be confirmed. Now, if you're going to have these hearings, well, you should ask the proper questions. One question would be, why should you get a hearing if Merrick Garland didn't get one for 293 days? So were the Republican senators wrong, and were their actions unconstitutional when they did that? Because either, no, they're wonderful and correct, and in which case go home for 293 days, and then maybe we'll let you have another hearing after that, because you just told me it's perfectly correct to block any nominee. Or if you say the Republicans were wrong, well, clearly explain to me the unconstitutional actions of these Republican senators sitting here. Which one is it? Okay, so that's easy, that's number one. Number two, ask them about Citizens United. I don't know if you know this, but an enormous percentage of the country, about 90% of the country, believes that money has a corrupting influence in politics. Conservative judges, including Gorsuch, don't believe that. They think the incredibly small minority. Now, when I say 90%, the country ain't 90% Democrat, okay? Republican just won the presidency. No, that includes a gigantic percentage of Republicans. Democrats, independents, libertarians, centrists, almost everyone agrees money has a corrupting influence on politics. Gorsuch doesn't agree. Democrats are struggling to figure out how to attack him. You might want to pick that one. You know, the one where 90% of Americans agree with you? Oh, it's so complicated. Golly gee, how do I figure out how I attack him? So ask him if he agrees with Citizens United. Now, there's two parts of Citizens United that are relevant here. They're both so easy to attack him on and to have him put on the record with insane, absurd positions that the rest of the establishment has agreed to and the Republican Party loves and conservatives in the judicial branch love, but that the rest of the country despises. So point one, do you think corporations are human beings? Now, anybody out there, if you're watching this, you know that's the most preposterous thing you ever heard in your entire life. How the hell could a corporation be a person? But Gorsuch will say, because that is the judicial philosophy today among conservatives, yes, of course. I saw a corporation the other day, I had coffee with him, he was great. I thought about having sex with him because they're people. And then, he got run over by a truck and then I wanted to sue the guy who, what are you talking? Of course they're not people. Of course they're not people. All actual human beings understand that. No, Cenk, you're so unsophisticated. I do that. It's a judicial philosophy from over 100 years ago, which, by the way, look into the history of it. The Supreme Court never actually ruled that. It was added in notes later after a decision, and it was added by a person who worked for corporations. Anyway, I don't want to get into the whole history of it, but they think they're so sophisticated because they're like, I do that. I like Mitt Romney said corporations are people, my friend. It's because there are people inside the corporation. No, the people inside the corporation are the people. The corporation is a legal fiction. It is not an actual living, breathing entity that is due any unalienable rights. Let me quote the Declaration of Independence in case you're unclear on this. This is what they wrote. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, I can go on and on, but let me ask you something. Do you really think that when Thomas Jefferson and the founding fathers wrote that they thought, well, by men, of course, we mean giant multinational corporations, and by their creator, we mean us because we created corporations? Now, nobody's gonna say that the creator, meaning God, created corporations. You don't think that, right? That would be a horribly sacrilegious thing to think. No, they are a legal fiction created by men for a certain purpose. I'm not saying that they shouldn't exist. I know why they should exist, but they shouldn't have constitutional rights. That was never intended. And of course they're not people. Of course they don't have unalienable rights endowed by their creator. And of course they shouldn't have the same rights as human beings. So ask him the goddamn question, it's not that hard. And have him make a fool of himself saying to the American people, oh yeah, I saw a corporation the other day, look just like Sally. Just look like my friend Bob. I think he's a real person. Do you know how to do politics at all? Now, if I tell Democrats this, they say, oh no, I do declare, Jack, you don't understand. You're such an unsophisticated Philistine. Here in Washington, we understand that the American people don't care about things like big business running amok. Wait a minute, I just saw a poll that showed that the only thing less popular than politicians in the media was big business. Oh, but Jack, I do declare there are donors as well. Exactly, they're your donors as well. That's why you don't want to attack them. If you attacked them, it would be, in reality, be enormously popular. Read the goddamn polls. Or if you want, I'll read them for you because you're obviously not good at this. Okay, so the second part of Citizens United, that's even more important. Does it have the, in Citizens United, they declared that giving millions, billions of dollars to politicians doesn't look like bribery at all. And the fact that they do the same thing that you gave them the money to do, no, that doesn't even have the appearance of corruption. Doesn't have the appearance of corruption. Here, let me give you some stats. In the last 5 years, 200 of the most politically active US companies, that's just 200. Not all the companies, not all the unions, not everybody who donates, just the 200 most politically active US companies. Spend $5 billion influencing the government. Now, well, boy, that's a lot of money, right? $5 billion. You think they're knuckleheads? You think they're wasting that money? No. Those companies received in return $4.4 trillion in taxpayer support. For God's sake, just put up this graphic, okay? And ask Gorsuch, do you think that that might have the appearance of corruption? And let the man say, no, I don't see the corruption. They gave $5 billion, they got $4 trillion. I don't see the corruption. Well, where's the corruption? They bought all you guys and then they got exactly what they wanted and more. They got a great return on investment. I don't see the corruption. Let him say it. Either you see the corruption, you see the appearance of corruption, and by the way, the actual reality of corruption, and hence you will vote against Citizens United, or you will make preposterous claims that corporations are human beings and that when they give billions of dollars to politicians and get trillions in return, there's no corruption at all. I can't even see it. For God's sake, fight, fight. That's what we want you to do. It's not that complicated. But here's my prediction. They will graze this topic because they don't want to get yelled at. They'll graze it, okay? Do you think they're going to go full bore after this? No, because they don't want to. First of all, most of the guys on the Judiciary Committee take millions upon millions of dollars from donors, and they don't want to highlight it. Who's corrupt? It's not just the Republicans, it's a lot of Democrats too. And some of the somewhat decent people on the Judiciary Committee on the Democratic side will not want to embarrass their colleagues. If I point out that Dianne Feinstein takes millions upon millions upon millions of dollars and largely does what her donors tell her to do, well, that would be deeply embarrassing. I do declare, Jack, you have to understand how sophisticated this argument is about how I want to protect my corrupt friends. I don't find that sophisticated. I find it cowardly and craven. Are you going to fight this guy who is more conservative than Antonin Scalia? Or are you just going to graze these topics and just let them walk on in after they spit in your face and wouldn't even let Garland have a hearing? My guess is you're going to let him spit in your face and let the guy walk in. Hey, Democratic establishment, I'm not the one sitting up there. You're the one sitting up there. Show me what you got. So don't come crying later and say, oh, this should be the establishment Democrat slogan. There was nothing we could do. But Cenk, you don't understand, we're so sophisticated. We play three-dimensional chess out here and we go, oh, there was nothing we could do. Fight, that's what you can do. And this is how you fight, on an issue where 90% of Americans agree with you. Not that complicated. The corporate media has multi-million-dollar anchors. We have you guys. Go to tytnetwork.com/go and you can help hire investigative reporters that'll do real journalism.